On September 23rd, fans and developers gathered in London to celebrate the upcoming launch of Phantom Liberty, the highly anticipated expansion to Cyberpunk 2077. The whole venue had been converted into a club straight out of Night City. Guests showed up in costume, live bands performed music from the game, and even the star of Phantom Liberty himself, Idris Elba, made an appearance. Looking at all this, it's hard to believe that things weren't always this way for Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk 2077 is phenomenally buggy.
Constant overbearing glitches.
This game is unfinished.
It's no secret that Cyberpunk 2077 had a rough launch. Despite that, it sold millions, but not without the burden of a tarnished reputation of a beloved studio.
We treat this entire situation very seriously and are working hard to make it right.
And now, developer CDPR is on the verge of fulfilling its biggest promise yet: to redeem Cyberpunk. With only a few days before Phantom Liberty's release, we decided to pack our bags and fly to Warsaw, Poland to talk to the team directly about the launch of Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty, and the lessons they learned along the way.
Not everybody had this clear picture. Where are we? What's happening?
It was really difficult at times. It was a tough release, let's be honest. It was tough.
Most importantly, we wanted to know what redemption looks like for CD PROJEKT RED.
You cannot just put the spell on people and tell them, okay, believe.
It's like step by step, we try to regain that trust.
I'm waiting for the fans to see what they say, because this is the most important thing for us.
We can call it redemption because it's easy. I think it's more complex than that.
CD PROJEKT RED is a huge deal in Poland. It's one of the largest companies in the country and is considered a point of pride among many of its people.
The video game developed here in Poland that's won fans the world over, The Witcher.
However, what really put CD PROJEKT RED on the map was The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. While other major game publishers were starting to catch wind of the live service model and trying to find new ways to monetize games, CDPR doubled down on its single-player RPGs. For many, myself included, The Witcher 3 was a breath of fresh air. It went on to sell millions and garnered universal acclaim from fans and critics.
The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is one of the best video games ever made.
That's what it said in the front page of GameSpot.com when I woke up this morning.
However, this story starts well before the release of The Witcher 3. On January 10th, 2013, the team released a teaser for their next ambitious project based on a niche tabletop RPG, Cyberpunk 2077. There was a lot of interest right from the get-go, but with the success of The Witcher 3, expectations continued to rise. All the while, CDPR was staffing up in order to match their own lofty ambitions. So we've made it to Warsaw. We are on our way to the CD PROJEKT RED office to see the launch of Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty.
So here we are. So you enter the place with those two great statues of Get Out, of course, and V, and all the awards that had in the covers. Here we are. This is localization. And localization for CDPR is obviously the thing that was always big. If you remember Baldur's Gate, the first one, it was actually the first game in Poland to be localized to that scale with really actors that everyone in Poland knew. Here's gameplay. So we had a bunch of initiatives where everyone was invited to play the game, see what it's like, give their feedback. We have some social gatherings from time to time, every, I'd say, 2 months or so. Oh, this is my team. Where's the ball? Łukasz is one of the top basketball players, at least of the communications team. I don't know about else, but top, of course. Hey!
This is our motion capture studio. We use Viking system. We've got 104 cameras. Both the base game and the EP one were shot here. All of the gameplay is done here. cinematics we shoot here, so those are more complex shoots because we have to sort of like create a physical environment for the actors to interact with.
I've done a lot of studio visits over my career, but I've never had this much access. Sections of the office dedicated to the forthcoming Witcher title were off limits, but beyond that, we were able to wander the halls, chat with devs in the break room, and get a feel for the atmosphere. Chris even snuck away for a bit to film all of the office dogs.
And his name is Geralt. The funny thing about it is that it was not them who gave the name to the dog.
That's what we heard.
Yeah, so they bought him, and his name was Geralt, which was like, as if, he was meant to be their dog apparently, because how would anyone name a dog Geralt and then sell it to people who work for CDPR?
I think we got all the footage we need, actually.
Yeah, you can go, that's fine.
After the tour, with 12 hours to launch, it was finally time to sit down with some of the folks behind Cyberpunk 2077 and Phantom Liberty.
Just generally, how's the atmosphere feel like today compared to 2020?
It was a tough release, let's be honest. Probably you're talking with multiple colleagues of mine and you hear pretty much the same story. It was tough. Most of the crew was actually working from home, so I think it was easier to cope with that, staying at home. But yeah, it was an empty office, like a dead office for months actually. I think after the release, we did everything we could, like literally everything we could. We invested a lot of effort in going with the 1.5 next gen release, where we actually divided a massive part of the team just like fixing the game. And I think I'll be very honest with you guys and say that making the team to work on that game and fix it was really the hardest thing ever. To motivate the team to put more effort was a really hard thing because everyone was so devastated after the release.
Actually, I put so much heart into the main game of Cyberpunk, and to be honest, still so far, it is the game that I've put the most of myself into it, so I have a huge sentiment.
When Cyberpunk 2077 initially launched, how do you encourage people? Because I imagine that was a tough time.
It was a super tough time, and you cannot just put the spell on people and tell them, okay, believe. People, they were lost, they had a lot of different thoughts about things, and we had to use all our strengths to motivate people as a team, to motivate single particular person. But one thing was super clear, that we would like to improve things. We are not abandoning this IP, it's great. I can't say that we had one methodology, one idea how to motivate the team after the release. The concepts make people believe that the transformation is not funny, it's real. Organization has changed drastically, in a very good way. And of course, it was initiated by the release of Cyberpunk 2077. We stopped and we had a lot of conversations what to do, why, and how to improve things.
In the base game, we had this situation, we called it silos, right? So we have art silos, we had narrative silos and code silos, for example. And in each of those are like few departments that were working on their own part and not really looking outside their silos, not communicating very well between each other. And that's definitely something we fixed in the Phantom Liberty. There is like much more communication. We have right now the strike teams working on the quest, so it's not like the quest is made by quest designer and he's just ordering stuff like I need asset here, I need character, I need the car, and those teams are just figuring out what exactly he wants. Right now they're working as one team.
So they know what my colleague is doing and how does it affect me, my part. We try to get rid of yours, from the communication.
During our interviews, one word kept coming up: agile. The idea was to flatten communication, making it much easier for different teams to interact. Rather than keep all the artists, designers, and programmers together, the company created strike teams that consisted of developers from different departments.
Right now, the way we work, we had
those agile strike teams, which is 1 or 2 specialists from each discipline working together, and this is a team, so each of those teams is capable of delivering any part of the game, like fully, everything within it.
There are meetings where you have environment artists, concept artists, cinematic animator, quest designer, level designer, etc., FX artists, lighting artists, and they all work as a team, and they talk all the time about, like, they review it every day, they meet every week for larger review, they play together the game, they discuss it. So everybody in this team knows exactly what's needed. They come up with ideas, they discuss it, they validate those ideas internally, right? So I need additional location, how much cost it will be, VFX, lighting artists, environment artists can contribute and tell what's doable, what's not. So it's much more, everybody has more knowledge.
Basically, several people from different disciplines figuring out not just their own, what's their work, but their mutual task that they need to finish.
To give credit where credit is due, you're mentioning mostly content teams. There is many tech teams, programmers, tech QA.
There's QA, of course.
Different kinds of programming. There's rendering, there's core. And those people are doing God's work, You
need to see the big picture, right? How the work you do, the model you create, the concept you create, the district you're designing, how it works in the bigger context of the whole product. Every milestone, we have the whole studio stop working, and for 3 days they're playing the game from the beginning to the end. But it's really, really worth it to just understand the bigger picture and know where your part kicks in.
So what's specific to Agile, or at least the form that we adopted, is incremental improvements and iterations. Mm-hmm. So when you do iteration, then you can detect earlier when something is not good.
I think the most important thing is iteration. I think quality equals iteration. So if you can have multiple cycles quicker, you are not waiting like a week to see iterative process from one team, so your team can see it, say, no, it's rubbish, let's fix it. I think it was a lesson we learned in the base game, that having this like independent teams creates a silos, and it's not making it any easier, really.
The production framework allows those people to talk every day and just give other feedback, and one-up each other and support each other's ideas. Is just invaluable. Like for creative work, I think this is the only way to go right now, really.
We are not perfect. We are in a process of getting better. Mm-hmm. And I ate a cupcake. Sorry.
Restructuring is only half the battle, though, and probably the easier one at that. After Cyberpunk 2077's release, CD PROJEKT RED had a PR nightmare on its hands. The game was so buggy it was removed from the PlayStation Store. Players were demanding refunds, and it was getting thrashed by the community. CD PROJEKT RED had to do the impossible: regain the trust of its players. This is where the communications and technical support teams stepped up. When it comes to AAA game development, typically these teams act as an intermediary between devs and players. They take massive amounts of feedback from the community, distill it, find the underlying issues, and share it with the development team.
For us, releases are action mode, and we act. We have experience with players' reactions and understanding sometimes what, like on the surface level, is the symptom, let's say, and what it might mean underneath, and then translating it into development language, and then tracking the issues and cooperating with many other teams to act about the things that the data that we gather. We are not completely psychic, Sometimes it's really important to players. Sometimes there are very big discussions about what this thing actually does, what it means.
Of course, sometimes we are able to predict some of the stuff that are going to be like, they're a little bit maybe more sensitive, or like a bit of like a hotter topic. So like, when we changed like the system requirements, there was like a lot of discussion on that. How do we translate that to players so they understand why are we doing that thing that we're doing? Not just like, oh, here are the new requirements. Like if you don't meet the requirements, I'm sorry. There is like a little bit of like sort of predicting what's gonna be like, what do we need to communicate and how do we communicate this, and what could potentially cause a little bit of like sort of a backlash from players if they don't fully understand why we're doing those things. There is also this component of like being reactive. It's like, okay, this is a problem, like how do we communicate this? How do we explain this? So yeah, it's a little bit of both.
Step by step, we try to regain that trust. Stuff like answering to DMs, right? And like actually acknowledging like what's up and with the community, what their feelings are, what the emotions are, what suggestions maybe they have, or concerns. Like this is stuff that we also bring back to like conversations with devs and so on.
There's sometimes some issues that are super important for our community, and maybe developers think that it's like a minor thing, but us hearing what community is saying, we try to push for it to be changed. Now let's go quickly over some changes to the UI that I know that a lot of our community will be excited for. Our community really wanted to have a walk button on PC. Like, you know, just to be able to walk around Night City, take in all the views, chill, maybe record some nice videos of that, etc. It was possible on consoles, but there was no button for it on PC, and our developers, like, they didn't really understand why would they need it. Like, it's faster to just run to places, right? But we were pushing for that because we were getting so many messages about it, and they finally did it.
A lot of that feedback not only informed updates and patches, but Phantom Liberty as a whole. From gameplay design to art direction, the team used all that feedback and criticism, both externally and internally, to rethink some of the game's core ideas.
We learned a lot making the base game. You know, it was a different art style than what we did in the past with The Witcher. So we're learning along the way what is our Cyberpunk, because there are many perspectives of what Cyberpunk is. There's a different Cyberpunk that is for Blade Runner, for Ghost in the Shell. You know, you can name all those amazing titles in pop culture that already have their own perspective on Cyberpunk. So on the work on the base game, we were trying to create our own take on Cyberpunk.
When we arrived at kind of the theme of the spy thriller and all the potential with the kind of narrative moments and the tension that you can imagine in the genre, that was kind of our inspiration, and it also lended to gameplay things that also was like this, like, okay, there's really a lot of fun we can have with that. And I would say definitely from the high level vision was that I didn't want anything to be kind of on an island by its own. I wanted everything to have this kind of poetic tie-in, even from like gigs to just exploration stuff, like it all tied in. And, you know, in a way you do that is you try to bring, you know, metaphors and examples, and then as more and more kind of examples came to fruition in the game, it just got all the more solid in everyone's mind. And so you see this over time. It's fun to see, but you see this like velocity almost that just increases as it gets more and more baked in everyone's head.
When we started doing base Cyberpunk, everything was new for us. New lore, new mechanics, first person, weapons, guns, different tone than The Witcher, a lot of things to work out by yourself, finding the proper genre. We had to just make all those mistakes and make all those good things and, you know, like learn from this, and then we could have applied it here. Based on those experiences in the base game, we slightly tweaked the art process, because Cyberpunk is all about noise. And noise is actually a great thing in an image because it makes the image pop. It makes the image very energetic, very shouty, right? But when you play the game, it puts a bit of a pressure on the player to actually see the world, you know, see where he needs to go and understand the world, to be immersed. So what we try to do in the Phantom Liberty, we try to make the world to be a little bit more, I guess, immersive by controlling the noise.
These creative and structural changes can be seen and felt in Phantom Liberty. Everything feels cohesive and has a sense of purpose. This sentiment was also reflected in most of the reviews, but it's important to remember that the reviews are only a tiny slice of the audience. The real test for CD PROJEKT RED will be the players.
After the update 2.0 rolled out, I was watching some streams, and you know, the streamers were saying they're, you know, happy with how it's looking. You know, they're saying they're super excited Phantom Liberty, and this was already something that is just making me so happy. That's why I'm anxious for the release day, because like in the end, we just want them to be they're happiest with this. Yeah.
On Thursday or Friday, I think, and we're trying to discuss work stuff, and we're both just like, I'm too anxious to talk about anything, and like, yeah, me too, and just like, we knew it should be fine, and that like we are confident in what we did, but you know, it's always the reception that it's actually just before the reviews, right?
It
like
was,
a few hours before
yeah.
the reviews drop.
We literally scheduled a meeting, and I can't say what it was about. It's
Yeah,
top
yeah.
secret stuff. Yeah. But and we're like, okay, so the agenda. You know what? We can't do this.
Yeah,
we can't do this now.
too
Can't
shaky.
focus. Yeah.
We were talking to Gabe. I was asking, like, do you feel like a weight off your shoulder? And he's like, give it 2 weeks, give it 3
Exactly.
weeks, maybe a month.
Trust me, I feel the same way. You know, just I remember the previous release and the fall. So now maybe it's the PTSD thing. Probably it is a massive PTSD. We're quite conservative.
Yeah.
Even now, celebrating just yet.
Before we join the team for the launch of Phantom Liberty, there's something we need to clear up. CD PROJEKT RED is doing a rolling release for consoles and a universal release for PC. This means Phantom Liberty on PlayStation and Xbox will release at midnight local time. In fact, it's already out in Australia and New Zealand. The PC version will drop at 12 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time globally. This means that everyone playing on PC will get access at the same time. This release is what everyone is gearing up for.
Yeah, how's Geralt part of this? What does Geralt do?
He's our emotional support.
Okay. How are you feeling?
Good, excited about the launch. Can't wait to see how people feel about the game.
Yeah.
I mean, at least in Poland, because it's already launched in so many places, right?
It's exciting. It's
Yeah.
exciting. It's crazy. It's our first release, like proper release. The last proper one that I remember was Blood and Wine, like when we were actually in the studio.
It's crazy on Twitch right now, and it's really surprising that a lot of people are actually starting the game from the beginning, just to slowly get to Phantom Liberty and not just jumping right into the expansion.
We had so many stuff during the day, so right now it's just a little bit of, peace before we actually jump into like a lot of people starting to play the game and reacting to it.
Are you nervous at all, or just kind of like?
Me, not really. Like, I remember when I worked with the community team, I feel like they're the most nervous just before launch, because it's this moment where, you're just gonna push out all the communication. It's gonna go to people and you're gonna see instant reactions, and people are gonna start downloading the game, like saying their first, opinions, what they think about it. You feel the excitement, you feel the energy. For me, it's always just coming here and actually being with everybody, like the social connection to the whole group, and actually being in this and like laughing together, talking, anticipating what's to come. It's exciting.
I think the biggest misconception is that there's like this big red button that we push at the given hour and then it launches everything. So it's really not like that. Everything is set up like a lot earlier by our release team and all of other teams, and we just waiting for the hour that is set up, and then it launches. And also we have to wait to make sure, because sometimes some things can go wrong, obviously.
As Elisa just said, there is no proverbial red button. Instead, there's a man in his laptop, more specifically, Artur. He's the one doing final checks before pushing out Phantom Liberty to GOG, Steam, and Epic Games.
About 3 minutes
About
away
3
from
minutes-ish,
launch?
yeah. Tylko te oczeki Okay, dobrze. The big red button, does it do the sound? It does the sound. Holy, no, but this sounds like a failure.
I know, 'cause it's a no button.
It's a no button from the.
Yes.
What sound would we edit?
No, let's not. Like, it doesn't actually look like this. This is not what launch looks like.
No. Okay. Wow. Yeah. So this is happening.
Yeah, it is.
It's
5 seconds.
Pretty cool. All right.
This is gonna.
I'm gonna go with GOG first, because that one takes. And the bada bing bada boom. No turning back now at this point. Okay, this one goes live. This one goes live. And this this bad boy. So Steam is Spinny Wheelie, so.
But it's live on GOG, EGS?
Yes. Waiting for Steam to process. And go.
Back to work, please.
Speech. Speech.
Thank you, everyone. It was a quite long ride. We started with some of you more than 10 years ago, with a small announcement, and then a cool trailer, and then the ball started rolling, and it grew and grew over years, and then we beeped. And then we released cool stuff, and it was amazing. And then it was a little bit bumpy, and here we are again, standing proud, sending press releases.
10 more seconds, don't take.
Cheers, guys.
It's pretty easy to get swept up in the hype and excitement when a new game releases. So much so that it's easy to forget that the people on the other side of the screen are just that, people. Some are just as excited, if not more excited than the fans. Most are nervous, anxious, and tired.
We can call it redemption because it's easy. I think it's more complex than that. We didn't change the story.
I remember at the beginning, we were looking not through the amount of bugs that on the game, but we were looking at it at the release through the things we wanted to put in there, what it is, right? So how we thought it will be perceived, right? The story, the emotions, you know, all the things that we developed for the game. So that's what we wanted to see.
I feel like the true test of whether this is a redemption arc, whether that is, you know, anything related to this, is always going to be by the players. So until the players get the game in their hands and they're going to tell us that, hey guys, this is good, you did good, then I guess this is the redemption arc. The redemption arc is not something that we impose upon ourselves. This is actually something that the players give us feedback on. So if the players are happy, we're more than happy.
In the end, the game is for the people, and you know what we do is for the players. At least what I'm doing is for them to feel some emotions and, you know, maybe like expand their worldview a little bit, and it's up for them to judge, really.
I hope that the players, the world will finally, I think, perceive that we really had like a very honest intentions, and we pushed maximum we could.
I wouldn't create a legend about our own story, our own job. If people feel and perceive it as a redemption story, it's great, because it's great.
Redemption is not a narrative CDPR gets to decide. It's the community, it's up to the players. That's the story that's being told right now, in real time, by the reception of Phantom Liberty and the hundreds of thousands of fans that are playing it, sharing their excitement and making it part of their lives. The narrative we can actually see. But that is still only a facet of the larger story. On one side, it's about the games and players who are playing it. On the other, it's the passion of the people who are making it. But then there's CDPR itself as a company, as an entity made up of hundreds upon hundreds of people. If there's anything I've learned from this experience, it's that game development is a complex, messy, and unpredictable process. But even still, CDPR is a company, and even in a year of redemption and success, it wasn't without its woes of layoffs. The redemption arc, whether it's No Man's Sky, Fallout 76, Final Fantasy XIV, or Cyberpunk, always revolves around the game. It makes sense. The game is the culmination of everything. That's what the company is working towards. That's what the devs are building, and that's what the public eventually gets to see. But redemption is complicated, deeply personal, and a fundamentally human journey. To put that narrative on a team of hundreds, some who poured everything they had into it, some who left after a rigorous development cycle, and some who were let go, feels like an oversimplification.
I'm really happy today because like we went through it, and I'm really super proud of Phantom Liberty and what we achieved. But also I can't help feeling a little bit melancholic, let's say, and like maybe a little bit of a loss, really, because now
Moving on from Cyberpunk.
Yeah, it's over now. I mean, it was really fun, also really difficult at times, and now it's gone. It's out there in the world. It doesn't belong to us anymore. It belongs to everyone now, and in a way, it's both sad and somehow fulfilling, and like, you know, I'm feeling this completion.
I'm extremely proud of every single studio member, and then I think we did everything we possibly could to fix the game, to bring exactly what we hoped this game could be. And I guess the current flow of reviews, I think it's giving a team a proper enclosure. I would say the proper enclosure to not only the Phantom Liberty, but I guess the whole project.
And I believe it's also a good lesson for us, for the future. And it's a matter of how you know, how fast you get up and move forward.
But how do we open this?
I don't know, we need to figure that out.
If cider expires or not? Because
No, it's all good. I got it. No, we made it like 2 years ago for the event.
Is this good?
How's the cider? Does it taste expired? There was concern about that.
This isn't mine, this is his. I don't like cider, so
I mean,
Okay.
cider is made
Tastes
from, you know,
expired.
fermented apples, so I don't know if there's anything else.
Really?
It was spoiled to begin with.
Multiple times.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's fermented, so...
It was fermented from the very
guys, so
beginning.
I just did a quick Google search on can cider expire? So, cider does have a best before date, meaning there is an optimal consumption period. However, it does not have an expiration date.
Well, this one doesn't.
All right.
Yeah, it's already fermented.
Everyone's safe.
Yeah.